Story 1. Some people are not worth your energy. You have a limited amount of concern to give, and many individuals are not worth your care. Story 2. These questions often receive responses like, I wasted my life partying when I should have focused on studying and building a family, or I wasted my life studying and building a family when I should have had more fun. Do not place too much emphasis on these answers. The grass often appears greener on the other side. Story 330 is not old, and you're barely an adult at that point. You are an adult, but most people are just starting to become financially settled. Story 4. Friends begin to fade away if you do not make an effort to maintain the relationship. People become busy, making it more challenging to meet. Story 5. Don't stress about everything at work. No one in your workplace truly cares. My workdays used to be really stressful when I was younger. Now I have come to peace with the fact that job security is a myth. I have some emergency savings in case I become unemployed, and when things go wrong at work, I pretend to care but find humor in it instead. Additionally, I don't get involved in workplace drama since I can genuinely ignore both people and problems. Story 6. I care less about what people think. I am who I am, and I don't need their approval. I spent a long time trying to change who I was inside, hiding, and it nearly drove me to the brink of despair. I'm interested in being happy, enjoying my life, and surrounding myself with trustworthy people. Story 7. People think much less about you than you realize. Everyone is busy with their own lives, so stop worrying about what others think and just be yourself. Story 8. For goodness sake, start doing yoga and mobility exercises in your 20s. Trust me, I am 31 and suffering. Story 9. It goes by quickly. I turned 39 years ago. Holy smokes. Appreciate it while it's happening, learn the lessons, and keep moving forward. Story 10. Worrying about what people think of you takes a lot of time that could be spent on other interests or activities. High school is long gone. Story 11. I developed a rapid disdain for status-obsessed people and realized that enjoying your family, friends, and interests is all that matters. Story 12. People are who they are. I had some friends who were negative or just not in ideal circumstances or irresponsible. I thought with age they would outgrow certain traits, but how long am I supposed to wait for people to have a positive attitude or to become responsible? People start settling into who they are at 30, so if there's something you don't like about someone, unless they are motivated to change, they probably won't, at least not anytime soon. I also realized that I'm just getting started in life. I learned a lot about myself in my 20s, and it's not too late to start something new if I want. I'm currently going through a career shift, and the time I spent trying many things in my 20s has not only prepared me for this, but has also given me certainty that I'm on the right track. Lastly, health is crucial. Your 30s can be make or break for health. You can recover from a lot in your 20s, but in your 30s, you have to put more energy and care into taking care of yourself. If I don't take care of myself now, how I look and feel at 40 will be more apparent than my transition from 20 to 30. A lot of people decline significantly in that time frame, and I don't want to be like that. Story 13. As someone who has talked and continues to talk regularly with people in their 30s, I believe everything is finite. This sums up all the lessons I have learned so far. Story 14. Money talks, and if you want anything in life, money is the most important factor. As someone who is introverted and autistic, it can be challenging because I don't want to flatter others to get ahead. However, social skills and the ability to charm people with money can influence the world significantly. Story 15. There are many factors to consider, but the most important one right now is that the quality of your workday is more significant than the salary you earn. Spending roughly 40 hours every week feeling miserable, even if your home life is excellent, is too much time spent unhappy. It isn't always that the job is bad. Sometimes you may just not be a good fit for the company or industry you are in. Story 16. Sorry for the spelling. I am not 30, but I am 28, so it's a close one. Some friendships are just not worth it. It's better to have fewer friends than a bunch of mediocre ones. I learned this the hard way and realized how many of them are fake as soon as something serious happened. They were there on my good days, but some stayed during my bad days, and those I will keep for life. The same goes for their good and bad days. Be careful who you trust. This can be similar to the first point. People can be manipulative and may seem nice at first, but over time it's easier to see through them. Don't easily fall in love. I know that many people like the idea of that one person, so they become blind to their flaws. I did it once and it was not pleasant at all. Don't stress too much. It's not worth it. I did, and it led me to epilepsy. Don't drink too much. I knew people who overindulged and they died, some from illnesses and others from car accidents. Also, drugs and gambling are huge no-nos. I know many people who destroyed their lives because of that. Always wait a few weeks before you buy something expensive like a phone, car, or watch. I started doing this, and there are many things I didn't buy in the end. My rule is to wait, and if I still want that item after 2 weeks, then I will buy it. This saves a lot of money. The last tip is to pursue your hobbies. Always make some free time for yourself, no matter if you are married or busy. This is something every person should have, provided it's a healthy hobby. This can include documentaries, comics, manga, games, history-related items, or anything else. These are some things I learned and practice. Over time, my life has become much better, healthier, and easier. I hope this will help at least one person. Story 17. If you are not in an improved position in life, you run a high risk of remaining stagnant and poor forever. Story 18. The life you have lived so far? You have another one to go, and then another on top of that. Everything feels like a rush when you are young, but at some point in your 30s, you realize that there is actually a long way to go. Story 19. I started to feel like an adult. Some of the things my mom told me were right. I still have a lot of work to do emotionally. A lot of things just don't matter to me at all. I should have taken better care of my knees. Story 20. People don't care as much about you as you think, so do what you want. Not everything is meant to be. It's okay to walk away from a relationship that requires too much work, energy, and compromise. Your back hurts now. Story 21. It was around 30, I guess. I don't expect to be certain about whom to trust, so I'll trust whoever is worth it. Story 22. I am tired of living and acting like I am a teenager or in my 20s. I need to get my life on track and have self-control. So I quit drinking and smoking cigarettes and I applied to school this year. I got accepted. I look around and see people my age still acting immaturely, doing drugs and partying. I am sick of all of that. I feel like I have actually grown up while watching others stagnate. Story 23. Your body starts aching and you can't drink more than 4 cocktails and function well the next morning. I never thought I'd say this. Morning recovery drinks are the only cure. Stock up. Story 24. I started experiencing painful sensations in my joints, neck, and shoulder from old injuries I had forgotten about. I realized that even just sleeping improperly could lead to a challenging situation for the rest of the week. At that time, I was unmarried and did not have children, so I decided to purchase a piece of land and a house. I wished I had initiated that process 10 years earlier. The memory of all the needless and impulsive purchases I made haunted me. I knew that if I had saved or invested that money instead of wasting it on spontaneous buys, I could have paid for the house in full with cash instead of taking on a mortgage. Story 25. It is beneficial to engage and play with other children when you are young, rather than looking down on them or isolating yourself. If you do not interact with others enough, you may find yourself struggling to care for children when the opportunity arises. Story 26. You start seeing more people you have known pass away, and you realize your life is essentially halfway over. Story 27. I feel like claiming or denying responsibility for things has gotten easier, perhaps because you stop caring about what others might think of you if they found out you didn't do that one thing or made a mistake. Even for my own personal standards, I wanted to be and do a lot more than I am now, but I can't be mad at myself any longer. The bulk of that image was delusional, impossible, and irresponsible. I'm happy with what I have now. I would love to have more money, but that desire never dies. I'm good where I am and need to be more grateful for what I've accomplished, even if it was a mistake at the time. Story 28. One should be prepared for death and grief in the family. This is a time in our lives when we begin to lose our parents. Story 29. That 30 felt like it happened in an instant, and it's scary that everyone says it goes by faster. There's so much I haven't done that I wanted to, and I've wasted a lot of time on things like video games. Basically, life feels like it's passing by faster than I would have imagined. Story 30. It's not possible to do everything right all the time. You cannot please everyone or help everyone. Sometimes you need to choose what matters most and protect that. Story 31. You need to prioritize your body. This is the last decade in which you can easily build muscle, and your quality of life in the future depends on it. This is especially important for women, as once you reach menopause and lose estrogen, which plays a significant role in muscle mass. Story 32. Not much really resonates at 30. You gain insights over time and associate them with being over 30. Here are my thoughts on the matter. Story 33. When I turned 30, a switch in my brain flipped. I am able to cut out toxic people from my life without any guilt now. It feels like a superpower. Story 34. It is not worth pursuing or impressing people. This generation is often ignorant about traditional values and expectations in life. Time seems more limited than I thought. I have always wanted to start a family, but it feels like I will never find the right person for that. It seems like I am not going to get a happy ending in life once my time is up. Health, financial stability, and a strong social circle are key to one's well-being. Story 35. You don't know everything at 30 or 40. I thought I would have everything figured out by now, but I don't, and it bothers me just as much. Story 36. No one truly cares about you except for close family and friends, if you are fortunate to have them. Despite societal messages suggesting that money is unimportant or does not lead to happiness, I have realized that having more money generally leads to greater happiness and satisfaction with life. More money provides more options to choose from. Life can be unfair. Story 37. Nobody knows anything. Most people confuse opinions and facts. Almost all ethics and morality are manipulative shaming behaviors designed to get people to serve the cynical self-interest of others. Story 38. 30 is still relatively young. I feel like you don't gain much wisdom unless you are a very receptive person at a young age. The best lesson you learn as you approach middle age is the importance of investing in yourself and building good habits. Story 39. My parents were young when they had me. They are both great and I feel blessed, but they are not perfect. My dad was 28 and my mom was 24 when I was born. I've often wondered what it would be like to raise a 3-year-old right now. I realize they probably didn't always have the answers and were likely worried about many things while trying to protect a child's innocence. It wasn't always easy, but looking back, I know they tried their best. I am grateful. Story 40. I realized that I was still immature and essentially still a kid 10 years ago. Life truly goes by fast. Story 41. The real world is not like school. It is actually the opposite of what your teachers claimed it would be. Granted, this is something you probably learned before turning 30, but it can take until the late 20s or early 30s for many people to truly internalize how flawed our education system can be. Teachers often say a lot of misguided nonsense about what the real world is like. I was told repeatedly that I should be grateful to a teacher who accepted a late assignment because I submitted it 5 minutes after class started. Because, in the real world, your employer won't accept late work. Really? You think that if your employer asked you for a report by the end of the day on Friday, they are just going to discard it and fire you if it's not on their desk by 5:01 p.m.? The reason they probably asked for it by end of day is so that if you need to work a little late to complete it, it doesn't matter to them at all if you email the report at 6 p.m. instead. They really only need it first thing Monday. The only real due dates are the ones enforced by the needs of other people. If you agree to do a presentation for a client at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, you better have it done by then. But you don't need an employer breathing down your neck about it. You want to avoid embarrassing yourself by showing up to the meeting without a presentation. Even if you do mess up and end up not finishing something or being late, people are typically much more understanding than teachers are. Teachers act as if you will be fired the very second you are late on anything. The truth is that people only care if you cause them problems. That's why it's an issue to show up to that Tuesday meeting without your presentation, because now you're wasting everyone else's time. If your employer wants to review the presentation before the meeting, they will be upset if you only give it to them 10 minutes before the meeting starts because that's not enough time. Additionally, it is not your responsibility to manage whatever workload your employer gives you. Teachers, especially in university, often act like this is always the case. If several professors assign significant projects due on the same day, you might ask if you could submit one a bit later to manage your workload. Half of my professors would laugh at that request, saying that my workload is not their problem and that I need to learn to handle these situations in the real world. No, that is simply not accurate. Sometimes there aren't any assignments that can be moved, and you really do have to work extra hard for a while. But it is your employer's responsibility to provide you with a manageable workload, and you are absolutely in a position to negotiate what you will or will not take on. As an employee, you have more power than you do as a student because your employer actually needs the work you are doing, and the quality of that work directly impacts their ability to do their job. They don't want to burn you out and complicate their own life. They do not want to overload you one week and receive subpar results if they could spread the work out over multiple weeks for better quality. Yes, you might encounter a difficult employer who does not care about this, but that indicates they are inherently bad at their job. You also have significantly more power to seek a different job if your manager is unsatisfactory. You really don't have the option to get a different teacher, so a teacher who chooses to be unhelpful is one you are stuck with, and there is little you can do to remove their influence over you and your future. This is not to say that changing jobs is easy, but it is certainly much easier than changing teachers. Story 42. Everyone has been making it up as they go along. Your parents did better than you realized. The boring things in life are sometimes the sweetest. Pubs are better than clubs because you have seen it all, and at least in pubs you can talk with your friends. Friendship is more valuable than sex. Everyone is always busy, all the time. There is never quite enough money. You really need to get to the dentist, doctor, or therapist about the thing you have been putting off because the cracks are starting to show. Story 43. I'd rather invest social energy into building a romantic relationship that leads to raising a family. I am not really interested in social games of conformity to groups. If I encounter a friendship that is naturally respectful of differences, then I am open to it, but my priorities are shifting towards family. Story 44. At 30, I began to realize that time was passing more quickly. It felt as though it had been speeding up throughout my life. This shift changed my priorities. I decided I wanted to have children sooner than I had originally thought, because I didn't want to be too old to share my favorite activities with them. I made a greater effort to reach out to longtime friends after a few passed away and stopped worrying so much about my social life, beginning to care more about what my family thought of me. Story 45. I worried too much in my 20s. Most of the things you worry about will never happen. When those things do happen, there is life on the other side, perhaps even freedom and better opportunities. Trust in God. The most important characteristic for a life partner is kindness. Do not date or marry someone who is capable of being unkind to others. Your hard work does pay off. One day at a time. The little, consistent actions are the ingredients for the life you desire. Keep going. Story 46. You might be around for quite a bit longer and should start to plan accordingly. In my 20s, the questions I kept asking myself were about what the next thing was, whether it was trips, jobs, parties, or something else. In my late 20s and early 30s, it became much more about what I would like to do with my time. Story 47. I'm not immune to everything. I could die at some point. I used to feel invincible and thought that severe pain and arthritis were for older individuals. Story 48. I should stop thinking in wishful terms and instead focus on small, successive steps. Story 49. Keep in touch with your friends, even when you don't feel like it, even when it feels like an imposition, even when you feel like you're the only one reaching out. Send the message, make the plans, and follow up with people. It gets really isolating as you get older, and you will miss them and need them more than you think. Your partner cannot be responsible for meeting all of your social needs, no matter how much love exists. Additionally, money can buy happiness. It buys freedom and choices. Invest wisely and early to build your wealth. Story 50. That intelligence and talent absolutely exist. There are certain things that no matter how hard you practice, you won't be better than someone who is naturally gifted at them. Story 51. I did my best with the information available, and hindsight is always clearer. However, I could have made better choices. My mental state held me back, but I am also learning to forgive myself for everything that has happened and for what hasn't. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. Story 52. You are the only person you can rely on. Everyone looks after their own best interests when push comes to shove. Story 53. Love does not last. There is no way to get through life without stress. You are just another person like everyone else. Story 54. I need to study again for a better career. I can't get a promotion, and my salary isn't enough with today's inflation. I can't save enough, so I have to make sacrifices for the coming years to achieve a better career. Story 55. I understood everything I thought life would be at 6 years old. Everything anyone has told me since then has been completely untrue. Story 56. You don't need to fear your parents' disappointment. They will eventually deal with whatever it is. You are old enough to manage the consequences of your actions and make decisions for yourself without involving them. In my personal experience, parents can be out of touch because they were born in a very different time, and their advice may not necessarily work for you as it did for them. Story 57. The people you took for granted in your life won't always be there when you wake up the next day. Whether it's friends, family, or acquaintances, you might find yourself separated from them for one reason or another. Story 58. Some things no longer bother me, while other things are starting to bother me for the first time. Story 59. Safety, while not always exciting, is important. Check that the professionals you are dealing with are certified and knowledgeable. Don't just choose the cheapest option or hire someone who is merely confident. Overall, this is a good practice, but applying it to medical professionals and personal trainers can significantly improve your health. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.